So this would be a time for those of you that want to sit down to come forward. It is my distinct honor to introduce our next speaker. Let me first say that I think we have had a great discussion, I don't know what that was, scientific discussion from my esteemed colleagues. But the bravest person in the room is about to speak to you today. And so imagine how much courage it would take to stand up here and talk about your own personal life experiences related to this controversial aspect that we're going to do. And I have asked my dear friend Kevin Drake to do exactly that. And I will tell you that I couldn't do this. I couldn't do what he's about to do today. So I want to say already that this is the most important talk of this session, because this talk will help you to understand from a very personal nature the complexity of what we're talking about today. And there's one thing that my grandfather said to me, Kevin, when I was a very young girl, because you probably would be surprised to hear this, but I was a little bit sassy and a little bit of a troublemaker. But he used to say to me, Candace, if you can just leave the world a little better today than it was yesterday, and leave a person a little better today than yesterday, you've done something good in this life. And that's what I think Kevin is here to do for us today. So it's my honor to introduce Kevin Drake. Kevin played football for 22 years, starting at age 5. So he played quarterback and wide receiver for the University of Alabama, Birmingham. He's a native of Alabama. For those of you who don't live in the Deep South and don't understand what football is in the Deep South, Kevin will explain that to you. I am not from the Deep South, and I did not know until living 10 years in Alabama when I gave my first talk 10 years ago on concussion at a public library, and people booed me out the door. So Kevin can explain to us how important football is. So he also played wide receiver in the NFL for teams such as the Cardinals, the Bills, the Broncos, and the Cowboys, as well as playing in the NFL Europe, where he won numerous awards. So Kevin now uses his personal life experiences to work in educating people throughout the region about sports concussion and youth football. It's my honor to welcome Kevin. Please join me in welcoming Kevin.
Well, no pressure, right? Thanks a lot for that. Golly. How's everybody? All right. I don't speak in doctor terms, so you should be able to understand me. But I am from the South, so you may not. So, yeah, it's been an interesting road for myself. Like Candace told you, I played for 22 years. I played football for 22 years. I started when I was 5. Played till I was 27 and walked away from the game on my own power and my own choice. I had played so much football. When I got into the NFL in 1998, I played in the fall of 98, the summer of 99, the fall of 99, summer of 2000, fall of 2000, summer of 2001, and fall of 2001. So I played about 7 or 8 seasons in about 4 years, and never got a break, which is probably why I'm here in front of you today. So, over my playing career, all right, what am I doing here? Hang on. Don't get up, Candace. Don't get up. Don't get up. I got it. I got it. All right, first of all, let me say this. In the handout of what you guys have, I need to state that I no longer represent the Wise Up Initiative. I only represent myself and speak on my own experiences and my own knowledge on concussions, so I need to get that out of the way. So there's that. Like Candace said, I played at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. I went in a quarterback, came out a wide receiver. Don't ask me why. But all my receivers graduated my junior year, and it was either move to receiver or start running the option, and that was not a decision. So I moved to wide out, and lo and behold, it worked out. It's the first time I'd ever done that. So I just happened to be a good enough athlete to be able to pull it off. And then I wound up signing as a free agent with the Cardinals, and they sent me to NFL Europe in '99. And then I got hurt, came back, got released, picked up by Buffalo, got released in 2000, got picked up by Denver in 2000, got released, got picked up by Buffalo again in 2000, and got released. Then I wound up playing for the Cowboys. I've been a Cowboys fan since I was 5 years old. So I told them they didn't have to pay me as long as they keep me, but Jerry doesn't work under those conditions. So, but that was a dream come true. So I've had an opportunity to fulfill a childhood dream of mine, to play in the NFL. I never, to be honest with you, I never expected to get there. Never. I just happened to have been a late bloomer as far as with my athletic ability, and I just happened to be blessed enough to be a good enough athlete to do it. So, but over my career, I had suffered over 10 documented concussions, and not all of them were from football. So what I try to tell people and what I try to tell kids and parents when I get a chance to speak to them is, concussions, it's not an athletic problem. It's across the board, because there's more kids that get concussions and get head injuries from falling off of bicycles than there are playing football, because there's just more that don't play football than there are that do. So it's important to understand that. Now, this statement up here, hopefully it'll baffle you like it baffled me, but it's something that we've all heard, and this is just a statement that can be made today. The problem with that is it was made in 1937. So here's the way I look at that in my shoes. If society would have taken it more serious like we are now, then you wouldn't have Mike Webster and all the other guys that suffered, that committed suicide, that struggled, that knew something was wrong, but didn't know what to do and didn't know what it was. So it's a shame, but the good part about it is for our youth, is that we do know a lot more now. And once we know better, we should do better. Again, over my playing career, I had 10 documented concussions. 3 of them I was completely knocked out. Those are 3 days that I still can't remember. 3 days of my life I'll never get back. But like I said earlier, not all of my concussions were from football or from sports. But I did get concussions. I had 2 concussions in baseball, and one of the knockouts actually happened outside of sports. So it can happen at any time, anywhere. I mean, I just happen to have played football, so that's kind of my wheelhouse. It's where I suffered more than any, and it's where more concussions in sports happen. But it can happen anytime, anywhere. And it's important to understand signs and symptoms of concussions and to know what to do. After my 3rd concussion I got playing football, you would not believe how ridiculously easily the other ones came. Very simple. If you saw the footage of my last one that I got playing in Europe, you would think that I got hit by a truck the way I fell. But all that happened was I turned and a guy was running by me, and I turned and his shoulder pad just grazed my face mask. And when it did, it snapped my neck like just that quick, and I dropped to the floor. It wasn't a direct blow to the head. It was just off the face mask, and I was out. So they kept coming easier and easier, and I knew when they were coming. The bad part about them, when you have so many, is you know when they're coming. You know what it feels like. I remember the last one that I got, I remember sitting there with my eyes closed trying to fight it off as hard as I could, because I didn't want that feeling of being concussed again. Because I went from a state of being okay to a momentary lapse that lasted probably a second but feels like 5 minutes, to where it's like a wave that just kind of comes crashing over you. So I describe it like a big black wave that comes over you, and you can fight it, but you can't stop it. And it is a lonely, horrible feeling when you know what's happening and you can't stop it. You think I would have smartened up and probably been done with it, but I went back to the sideline, got 2 smelling salts, walked to the other end, broke them open, hit them, nothing. And if you've ever put ammonia tablets to your nose, it doesn't take but one. I put 2 of them up, and it didn't do anything. Then I did it again, and it woke me up, threw them off to the side, went right back into the game. Here's the scary part about that, is every concussion I had ever gotten by playing football, I went back into the game. What's more scary about it, knowing what I know now, was watching the film the next day and not remembering any of the plays that I ran after I got the concussion. But I played awfully well. I did. And that, I don't know, maybe I should have played more often like that. So, but I did play well. To that point, though, is for athletes, especially football players, and we're talking college, NFL guys, the ones that aren't going to report it because pride, don't want to let their teammates down. Talk about the NFL, you're talking about a lot of money that some of these guys make. And if you start reporting concussions, that stays with you the rest of your career. And you're talking about a lot of money. And then, so a lot of guys aren't going to say it. They're not going to talk about it. They're just going to, and it's, to me, it becomes a personal decision. They're educated a good bit on it, so they know. And if that's what they choose to do, there's nothing that any doctor, any coach, or anyone can do to stop them from doing that. And I get it. I do. Because it's hard to walk away from $2-3 million contracts that, for a lot of guys, that's their only out. They'll never have a chance to make that kind of money again. And so it becomes a very difficult situation when you're trying to protect the athlete, but the athlete doesn't care about protecting himself. That's what I did, but I didn't know any better. Because I'm old. I played college from 93 to 97. And I got out of the NFL in 2001. Every one of my concussions that I've got, every one that I suffered, every single one of them, I had the exact same symptoms with all of them. And that's probably just me. But the nausea is the first thing that hits, and it's overwhelming. That's how I know it's coming. That's when I told you the last one that I got, when I remember sitting there trying to fight it off, and I was just like, no, you guys, that's the first thing that came on. Stood up, dizziness, shortly after headaches, blurred vision. Just immediate, those are the immediate things that happen for me. Now, it's different for everyone, and we all know that, because everybody's going to respond differently. But none of my concussions, not a single one of them, was handled properly knowing what we know now. And that's partially my fault, but not all my fault. But we didn't know what we know now. Or maybe we did, but we just weren't applying it. So I'll leave it at that. I love my trainers. So these are the things that I deal with on a daily basis. I'm in a much better place. Don't look at me like I'm crazy, okay? Y'all don't look at all them symptoms and think, we need to go check him in somewhere, because it's a laundry list. But I've gone through terrible bouts of depression. And I would say this, other than the headaches that I've had for 16 years, and I used to get a headache every day of my life for 16 years, every day. Migraines came on about 3 years ago. I've kind of got those under control a little bit, but I've never had migraines before. But every one of these have come on in the past 5 to 6 years. I'm 41, so 35, 36, somewhere around there, looking back. Terrible bouts of depression, mood disorder, mood swings. They've been bad. And I don't mean to do them. It's when someone that has gone through what I've gone through, anybody, and they do something and they tell you they don't know why they do it, they really don't know why they do it. Because I don't know why I've done some of the things I've done. I don't want to. I don't mean to. I don't want to be mean to people. I'm not. But apparently I am. So I have to go back and apologize. Everybody's got a breaking point. The more you have to go back and say I'm sorry, the less it means. So you have to figure it out, which I have. Overwhelming bouts of anxiety. I have triggers that I have learned that are my triggers that I didn't know I had. So I'm more mindful of my situation, what I'm in, what I'm around, and where anxiety starts in my body, and to be able to recognize it and either remove myself from the situation or have someone there that knows me well enough that can help talk me through it. That doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's bad. The headaches, migraines will put me down for 2 to 3 days if I get them. I haven't had one in about 4 weeks, which is good for me because I was getting 2 a week. And they're debilitating. And all I can do is take what I take for them when they come on, but they've been good. Attention deficit disorder, never had a problem in my entire life with any of these things. Diagnosed with that about 6 years ago. My short-term memory is only getting worse, and I can be, which will probably happen before I'm done here, but I can be in mid-sentence talking to you or talking to anyone about something directly and specifically, and the thought just goes mid-sentence. I can't find it. I can't get back to it. I don't know what I was about to say. And I know that happens to a lot of people, but it happens more often than it should. And for me not to be able to remember what I was just talking about is extremely frustrating. Extremely frustrating. It's a hard thing to live with. It is. That's probably the short-term memory loss and the loss of thought, or getting lost, not remembering where I'm at. I've only had that happen a couple of times, but I've been in my car in my hometown and not know where I'm at, or headed somewhere and completely forget where I was going. Be stuck on the interstate just driving, and I'm like, I have no idea where I was going. No idea. So I'd have to call somebody that knew where I was going to tell me. And that's a scary, lonely feeling too, because you shouldn't have to deal with that. So everything that you see up there that has meds written by it, obviously I take meds for it. I don't think meds are the cure-all for everything, but I think they have their place until you can work on your cognitive issues. And I think a lot of those meds, and probably, I don't know, hopefully in the next 10 years, I won't be on half of them because I'm in a much better place than I've ever been in right now. And all of the medication that I take are very low-end dosages. But I finally found a combination that helps with the mood disorders and the mood swings and the depression. I finally got a lick on that. Anxiety is what it is. I do take something for it, but I don't take it daily. The headaches, I take something daily. The migraines, I take as needed. ADD, I take something for it. And impulsivity is probably, I don't know why I didn't put this up there, probably because it's my worst thing. So I didn't put it in there. So I impulsively did not put it in there. And that's a tough one. I was telling Dr. Stern that I gave up my seat to come out here yesterday, and then I wound up having to fly through different ways, and I didn't mind. But I had a 6-hour layover in Salt Lake City. This is the worst thing that can happen to somebody like me. With a pocket full of money, I spent more money in that airport than I have spent in the past 5 months. I swear to you I have. I got some cool stuff, though. This is what I say, and I've said this for a long time, but this is kind of my mantra, because I'm not broken. I am damaged, but I'm not broken. And talking to a lot of guys and a lot of vets that I've spent a lot of time with, that's the consensus, is we're not broken, we're just damaged. And if you're damaged, you can be healed. If you're broken, you're broke. And that's not what we are. That's not what I am. So that's kind of stuck with me. That's why I put it up there. But I had an endocrine testing done when I was up in Michigan at the Eisenhower Center, which was kind of interesting to me because I was trying to figure out where they were going with it, and that's the worst test you can do when they drop your blood sugar down to 28. Not good. Take about 15 to 20 vials of blood, and then give you a juice pack to drink afterwards. I'm like, you better get me the whole gallon of that stuff. I don't know where it's at, but you better find it. But I had MRI, and then, so the test came back, the results were low testosterone, low growth hormone. So they did an MRI on my pituitary gland. I was just talking to Dr. Stern about this, and he said that it's common, and it is, because the results came back that I do have a damaged pituitary gland from the head injuries. I spent some time in Michigan with 3 or 4 former players, and every one of us that took that test, the results came back the exact same way. I don't know what that means. I don't. I just know that 4 out of 4 of us had damaged pituitary glands and the exact same results. Everything else was fine. So there's a connection there that's not working. So it's just more meds I get to take, I guess, for the rest of my life. So, and look, I'll say this about the medication and stuff that I take. I had a reporter ask me 3 weeks ago, if I thought it was fair that I have to take those, or how do I feel about taking those? I said, it is what it is. That's just what it is. It's my life, and if that helps, and if the meds help, I'll take them. I don't want to, but I also don't want to be this lunatic running around yelling at everybody, seeming like I'm bipolar, because it gets bad, and it helps. So I don't mind it. I don't want to stay on them forever. So I want to learn how to cope, how to manage, how to be mindful about things, and then slowly reduce what I take. Some of it I won't ever be able to get off of, and I'm okay with that. I'm fine with it. All right, so now the big topic for me. I am a firm believer in no pads in youth football. I just am, and I didn't used to be. Within the past year, I've really been conflicted about it, but when you hear studies like Dr. Stern was talking about, and the rest of the panel were talking about, the most important parts of a child's development or a human being's development of their brain, not that it doesn't continue to develop, but some of the most important parts of that child's brain is up to when they're 12, 14 years old. After that, to me, it just becomes common sense. I don't know. Maybe I'm strange about that. And I'm not against football. Don't get me wrong. I'm not. I just think that our kids are our most precious assets that we have, plain and simple. And we do everything we can to protect them from harm and danger, except for when we throw them out of a minivan and give them a helmet and send them to a coach that doesn't know what he's doing. It makes no sense to me. And I'm not saying every coach is like that. I'm not. Because there are some really good coaches that are teaching properly. But here's my other point with that. One, kids don't understand the risk of long-term brain damage. All right? That doesn't make sense to them. So we're the adults. Second is that kids they're not capable at that age of controlling how to place their body to tackle better, to stay out of harm's way. If you've ever watched youth football, it looks out of control, but it's not. I mean, do they love it? Most of them do. There's a lot of them that don't. They like the game, they just don't like all the contact. And I get that. Because you got some kids that are 10 years old that look like they're 15. You got some kids that are 10 that look like they're 5. But yet we're going to put them on the same field. We may put a sticker on the back of their helmet, and you've got to stay and play offensive defensive line. But guess what? That defensive lineman still gets to hit that running back that's smaller than he is. I don't get it. I don't get it. This is my personal opinion. But to me, if we would take the pads off of our kids, start teaching them the fundamentals of football. Go back to teaching the fundamentals of football, because that's lost in youth sports. I can go ahead and tell you that. That's way lost. You got some that are trying, but the problem is you got kids that can't, again, control their body and get themselves in the right position to make proper tackles. You can teach it all day long in practice until you're done. And it's not going to make a difference when that kid gets in a game. It's not. Now, you got some kids that are more developed than others. I get that. But for the most part, 80 to 90% of those kids are not in control of their bodies when they're going full speed. All right? And I believe, personally, the biggest problem with youth sports is this right here. You just saw it.
Still stopping.
Stole it from me. I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to tell you this. That pisses me off more than anything else that I've ever seen in football, because that's not football. I've played at the highest level you can play at, and I've never once had a coach or a referee stop the game and put cones on a freaking field and tell two kids they got to run right at each other and do that. Never. It's not football. And if somebody can prove me wrong, I'll take that slide out forever. I'll never speak on it again. But I have never seen that in football. Ever. And you teach your running back to run the daylight. If you've ever coached, you teach your kid to run away from all the traffic inside. You don't tell him to lower his head. And none of the coaches, once you watch the coaches, once you see how alert they are about it. Come on, play. Oh, he's not going to play. He's going to make me mad. You sucker. Y'all like that little wave in there? I threw that. That's special. Nobody said anything, dadgummit. Man, I did that just for y'all. All right, well, we've seen it. That's probably because we've seen it enough. But if we would get back to proper coaching, the fundamentals of football, up into my opinion is 14, but I'll go with Dr. Stern at 12. But it will produce better football players, bar none. If you get back to teaching the fundamentals of football to our youth, take out the fear for some kids. You're going to keep more kids involved in the game. You're going to have better football players by the time they get to middle school. They'll enjoy the game more. You'll have more kids playing it again, because it's a big decline right now. But you have to, and then when they get 14, then you can teach proper tackling techniques when the kid can control his body. He'll be much stronger. He's still developing, I get that. But at 12 to 14 years old, that kid's got better control of his body than he did when he was 5. They look like bobbleheads running around out on the field. And I did it. I enjoyed it. I'm not saying that I'm not for taking enjoyment away from our kids, but I am for us standing up and protecting our kids, because it doesn't make any sense to me. Because those coaches in youth football work, and I tell every coach that I ever talk to about this, I respect you for working 40 to 60 hours a week, taking and volunteering your time to coach kids. I know you love the kids, and I know you love the game. But you can't keep doing the same thing that your dad taught you, that his dad taught him, that his dad taught him, because there's no progression in it at all. And we know too much now to continue to do the same things that we've always done. That's got to change. And to me, it's common sense. That's just my opinion. Thank you.